Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our next presentation. We welcome on stage XMPie, a company that is not just shaping the future of personalization, but has shaped personalization already for many, many years. I hand it over to the gentleman from XMPie, Paul.
Phil. Thank you, everybody. My name's Phil Gaskin. I'm Business Development Channel Manager at XMPie. For those of you that don't know XMPie, we're a software company, and we've actually been around for 24 years now. And the company name itself actually stands for cross-media personalization in e-business. So if you think about it, going back 24 years, the turn of the century, here's a really forward-thinking company that was focused on creating personalized, relevant experiences in different channels. And today I'm going to talk to you about the future of personalization, and we're going to really get lively with this, and in particular, how XMPie's focus is on shaping the future of personalization. Before we start, what I will just quickly say is that there are a few QR codes through the presentation. Do feel free to get your phones handy, and you can interact with them if they're relevant to you, or you want to follow up and capture it later. If I'd have done this maybe 10 years ago, which I did with QR codes, many people would have sat there looking confused. But I think thanks to the pandemic, pretty much everybody now knows what to do and how to interact with them. So let me move on, and I'm joined on stage here by two of my colleagues. Immediately to my left, Andrew Wood, who's a senior pre-sales consultant, works at XMPie, responsible for EMEA. And my sales colleague, Enda Kavanagh, who's sales manager for Asia Pacific and Japan. So as a combination of those two different people here, what we'll do through this presentation is actually a combination of looking at the technology and how it's working and applied by Andrew. And Enda's going to help with a little bit more of a business focus on the business advantages of customers that are actually using our software and what it's doing for their businesses. So before we start, I'm just going to give you a very quick feeling of what XMPie is all about. So as I touched on, we're all about personalized, relevant experiences. And our integration into the Adobe Creative world means that we're able to create real personalized, relevant experiences within the brand guidelines, okay? So we can automate really personalized, hyper-personalized content for print and automate the production of that through our integration with Adobe. And we really are Adobe native. So we keep those files in that Adobe format. You can easily change and amend them, support all of the typographical control as well. But it doesn't stop there, because we also support omni-channel capabilities as well. So with the same platform, and it's a very scalable and modular platform, we can also personalize email content, web, print in the mix of all of that, but also other channels such as personalized video. And we'll touch on that later on as well. But it doesn't stop even there with this future-proofing of the technology. And I work with a lot of printing companies, and they use our technology as a way of being able to protect their print volumes by diversifying and actually offering new services, but complementing what they're doing in print. I've also had many companies that have approached us because they want a way of differentiating themselves, their printing company, from their competitors. And our software is a great way of being able to do that. But of course, we also play in the e-commerce space as well. So we can extend people's businesses to provide ordering of print, highly personalized and customized print in the mix there as well. But we don't just restrict our e-commerce to print. You can order emails or omni-channel content, or from within that same portal environment, something that we call campaigns on demand. You'll see in the top there, it says go beyond the name, and that's because personalization generally tends to be about somebody's name, something really quite straightforward. Well, anybody can personalize with a name. So Here's a good example. This is a Brewdog can, so probably well-known beer to most of you. This is a company that personalizes online a beer can. But what's really important to them is their creativity and their brand protection. So they're allowing consumers on their own e-commerce platform to not just put a name, but to upload a photo. So this is Ender's beer with a picture of Ender. And of course, personalizing the message that's on the can as well. So a really good example of a live customer application using XMPie software for e-commerce. So let's move on. Our stand is just over there. And you're very welcome to join us afterwards to go into a little bit more detail, to look at some samples, because there isn't time in this session to be able to go into everything, but what we want to do is whet your appetite for what we're doing here at Drupa. So whilst we've got loads of samples and the ability to provide demonstrations of our software over there to the right of me, we also have some printing technology partners and finishing partners that are here at Drupa that are also showcasing XMPie applications. And what I'd like to do now is just very quickly show you, because we offer such a diverse range of different applications. And I'm also going to then look at how you can expand and go beyond just the obvious personalized, tailored, and customized print. So Andrew, let's talk about, first of all, Lander. So on the Lander stand, they've actually got some really creative direct mail postcards. You'll probably be able to see that these are all completely individually personalized, and they're printing those live on their devices. We've also got this, which I quite like. It's another similar application, direct mail, but it's designed to be not just personalized, but it's also promoting a different destination for a holiday. And you'll see that it's got names of locations, but it's also printed your personalized boarding pass for your airline as well. And of course, it's completely personalized on the back as well. Great example of creative personalization. Let's move to Zycon. So Zycon, this is a really high-end fashion mailer. So this is, again, it's a concertina fold, really nicely designed. And we've personalized this for several consecutive events for a fashion brand. And you'll see here that this particular one is for Paris. There's different locations, but it's completely unique to an individual based on where they're located, which event they're being invited to, whether they're male or female, what we actually know about their buying history, and what type of customer they are, how much they spend. But not only that, this nice, really creative mailing piece also becomes their VIP ticket for the event as well. So it's a really great example of creative personalization, but linking the physical print into the digital space. Okay, so where should we go next? Let's go to HP. So at HP, we're going to go into a little bit more detail on the application in a minute at HP, but we're printing some pouches over there. Ender's going to cover a little bit more detail how we're automating that e-commerce workflow and the production of these as well. Let's move now to Scodix. So this isn't really printing. This is embellishment and finishing. So in exactly the same way that we can personalize for printing, we're personalizing the finishing. So here we've got personalized varnish and foiling that's done, again, personalized for each individual recipient. So you probably see that with the light on there. It's really quite textured, really nice finish, and it's all being driven through our software to provide each one as a completely unique, high-end, personalized copy. And that brings us very nicely on to Fujifilm. So what we have here, and this is an application that we're printing live, and there's a QR code there, so do feel free to scan it and to interact with it. But essentially, we're actually producing personalized comics. They're being printed on the Riveria 1120 press, and you'll see here that we're using the fluorescent pink and the gold in addition to the 4-color CMYK process as well. So really nice, really punchy and vibrant, but each one of these is completely unique. So I'm going to turn to Andrew, who's been on the Fujifilm Fujifilm stand for the last couple of days. And just ask Andrew, can you tell us what makes these so individualized and personal?
Yeah, thanks, Phil. As you can see, I think if Phil holds them up for me, there are different orientations for this design. There are 4 different stories. There is personalization based on an input from the person who configures it. We're using a dynamic avatar and some generative content as well.
Okay, so that's interesting. Tell me a little bit more about the integration that we're doing, because as you said, there's a personalized avatar that is completely unique to each individual, and there's also some AI content in there as well. Can you perhaps just go into a little bit more detail about how that's produced using our software?
Yeah, that's correct. We've used a tool called Ready Player Me, which is kind of an internet tool for creating an avatar, and we've used their APIs to pull back imagery that we've dropped into the comic. We've also allowed you to ask a question of an AI. We've used ChatGPT integrations to do that, and we provide your answer directly live back into the comic.
And now I know, Andrew, you've got many skills, and you've pretty much built this application. But one thing that you're not is a designer.
That's right.
Okay, but this looks to me like it has been designed. So perhaps you could just explain how we actually managed to get to something like this without the use of a designer.
Yeah, 2 things I think really. First of all, InDesign's capabilities very flexible in terms of what it lets you do on the page. And also I've used Adobe Firefly extensively to create these images. AI image generation is really quite good, but it's not perfect yet. So real-time generation needs a bit of censoring. So obviously these image assets have been pulled together by my input and content generated from Firefly.
Excellent. So we've got something that's really unique. It's portrait or landscape. It's a personalized avatar, which you can use your phone to generate automatically. You can choose a location, which affects the imagery. You can also choose an AI question, pretty much any question, and we'll put the answer to that question in the content. But also in here you'll see that it's completely unique. Each one is completely unique, and it's being printed on demand. So if you wanted to actually interact with this and to go and get your personalized comic, which is from the Fujifilm stand in Hall 8B, Andrew, what do you need to do?
Yeah, Phil's got a QR code, I think. If you scan the QR code, it takes you into a starting page where you can configure your avatar. Once you've done that and selected your clothing and your hairstyle, etc., go through to the next step and add some information about yourself and some choices you want to make within the comic. Once you've submitted that information, we pass the artwork over to Fujifilm, which drops into their XMF workflow, and they'll be able to print it for you if you find the workflow desk in Fujifilm.
And if somebody interacts with it from here and they don't get the opportunity today or maybe while they're at Drupa, can they access their comic?
Yeah, so obviously we use XMPie Circle to pull all this together, but we'll be sending a follow-up email with a copy of your comic in later on in the day.
Great, thank you very much. So I think you'll all agree, a really clever and innovative application. And not only does it include a lot of integration and a lot of omni-channel content with the emails that are triggered and the content we're integrating with, but it's what my colleague described in a presentation yesterday as programmatic print, because actually this, whilst it looks like a personalized print sample, it is completely built programmatically based on people's interaction in an omni-channel experience. So I'm going to move on now to Ender. So Ender, you've been on the HP stand for the last couple of days, and you've been really looking at e-commerce automation, which is something else very different to what Andrew's been talking about, but something else that XMPie software enables. Ender, could you tell us a little bit about what you're showing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Phil. So at the HP stand, we've got some personalized applications that we'll talk about in a second that Phil touched on. But the idea of HP wanting to partner with XMPie is to look at what's their ecosystem and how do they drive jobs quicker through the factory to get out quicker so they can put more jobs on the press. So their site flow application allows a job, once it's in the factory, to completely be automated all the way to shipping. So all the attributes and the integrity of the job ticket and the job are automated through the press, but it can be multiple presses. And that's the power of what SiteFlow does. But they focus on the job once it gets into the factory. The question is, how does the job get there in the first place? So that's where XMPie's web-to-print store flow solution comes into place. So you can have unlimited B2B stores, B2C stores, B2B2C stores, representing all your customers. So the idea here is to create a sticky strategy so that when a customer gives you a file to print, and it could be a regular file or a one-off file, well, why not understand, am I getting 100% of that customer's business? Well, nobody is. So if you give them a personalized, branded portal where they can give you business 24/7, statistics will tell us that you're going to get more from the same. And therefore, you're going to get more jobs from those customers, which means the advantage of SiteFlow is that no human has to touch it in the factory. It goes online, it goes through, it has the job tickets, it can be pre-flighted, ends up in SiteFlow, goes through the presses, into shipping, and it's out the door. So the job has very few touch points, therefore the job is more profitable. And that's the whole idea of what we're talking about over there.
So, Enda, obviously, outside of that environment, do you have any examples of customers, your customers, that use this technology and what it's done for their businesses?
Look, I think you can look at it from several angles. If I look at, say, one customer of mine who's now a 5-year veteran of the web-to-print store flow, he will quite easily and openly tell you having this automated solution is the equivalent of 2 full-time salespeople, because it's 24/7 and it's automated and the consumer wants to give you more. So it's sticky. And the advantage is that you're controlling the brand of the organization. So selling an e-commerce strategy for them was to not just talk to, say, the procurement people that they would normally speak to, is talk to the business problems with the marketing people and in the finance areas of the customers. And they easily win it. Another customer has every year for the last 5 years retained government tenders because of the simplicity and the significance of what it means to just keep going the same. So why would a government organization go and try and find another supplier when they've been dealing with that one printer for the last 5 years successfully? But in the government strategy in Australia, where I live, the tender has to go to market every year. But because of the stickiness that the web-to-print creates, it's easy. And one other customer in New Zealand, just as a closing example, they're a commercial printer doing very, very well. They set up a sister company called the Box Business for packaging, still with the same software. So they bought the software for a business problem, e-commerce, commercial web-to-print, but then opened up a packaging factory. And that same software is delivering over 2,000 orders a week.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's interesting. It reminds me actually of one of my customers that took a StoreFlow solution, having had a competitive web-to-print type solution, and whereas he used to talk about what you might have, because it's so quick and easy to set up a store and to go and to actually show, he was able to actually say, this is what you can have. And he was winning business left, right, and center from that approach. Before we move on, and I deliberately said that we'll ask Andrew to do the more technical side of things. We've talked about the application at Fujifilm, but on the HP site that you're talking about in the e-commerce area, there's also an example there of a product that also includes some omni-channel content as a sort of a brand consumer application. You maybe share a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think what we've seen and brand owners are doing now is due to COVID. So when you panic buy, you're not going to get your favorite brand. So you pick up another brand. So brands have lost followers and other brands have gained followers, and we've seen that. And then the brand owners go, well, we know we own the real estate of the package. So why don't we now make that interactive and maybe turn this package into a conversation? So if I look at these examples, okay, they're personalized, and you can see the various different names on them, but this could be anything. It could be a label, it could be a carton or a box. But on the back then, you'll see it's got a QR code. So the QR code could be a personalized experience. It could be a messaging from the head of marketing. It could be a bottle of wine and it says, what's the, this wine is good with steak, this wine is good with fish, this wine is good with whatever. So the whole idea now with brand to consumer, it's a thing. We've been talking about it for many, many years, but now we're seeing it more and more in live applications. Even on TV, you'll see a QR code. Scan the QR code and see how this advertisement ends. So it's all about the consumer in everything that we do.
Great, thank you. So let's, we've had a couple of, well, we've talked there about some use cases and users that are taking XMPie software and what it's doing for them. But we also have a vast library of case studies on our website. There's a QR code that will take you there. But I wanted to just quickly focus on two recent European case studies. These are case studies from service providers and printing companies that have actually taken XMPie software to actually do pretty much all of the things that we've talked about today. So they're print, but they're offering solutions that provide omni-channel experiences that use e-commerce in the process as well. And today we've even got one of those. So Team Janssen is actually on our stand over there with a great case study, and I'm sure be happy to talk to you about what they've done with XMPie software as well. That brings me on to my final slide. I'd like to thank you all for your time. I would really recommend that you come see us, talk to us about our software and what it can do for you. And really, again, thank you for your time. We haven't talked about personalized video, which I said we would, but my colleagues will be distributing some printed cards that have actually got a QR code on with a different experience. This experience will allow you to interact in a similar way to the comic application. But in this particular case, it'll still use AI, it'll use your name and it'll personalize it, but it will actually personalize the web content, an email, personalized image, personalized PDF, and a personalized video, which we've used the ChatGPT response, used Amazon Poly to convert it to audio, and we've included that in the personalized video. So I'd recommend that you interact with that and really get a feel for what an immersive experience you can create and how it still complements print. And you're including print as part of the mix as a great application for printers and service providers to actually start diversifying and doing new things, but including print in that mix. Thank you all very much for your time.